Before we get started, we'll go ahead and recap our scores from this past week of competition on Saturday, October 5th. Arkansas Pine Bluff defeated Lane at home by a score of 45-38. Alabama A&M defeated Texas Southern at home by a score of 35-28. Alcorn State got a road win over Alabama State by a score of 35-7. Grambling State got a road win at Jackson, defeating Jackson State by a score of 44-21. And Mississippi Valley State got a home win over Virginia Lynchburg, winning by a score of 31-23. With that, we will go ahead and dive right into our call, where we'll be joined by Alabama A&M head coach, Coach Maynor. Do we have Coach Maynor on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Coach. If you would, please, as always, just give us an opening statement about your team's conference win against Texas Southern.
Yeah, it was a good win. It was homecoming. We knew Texas Southern had a good football team, and they got a good defense that plays hard, and of course they got explosive offense with those receivers and the quarterback. Even though the quarterback didn't play, we knew it would be a tough battle. We knew it would be a good game, and it was halftime. It was 14-13, so it was right there one play, and then we came out and scored 14 unanswered. And went up 28-13, and driving the ball, and we had a turnover. Our quarterback fumbled, and they scored in 3 plays. They cut it to 8 points, and then they got another stop and scored, and went for 2 and tied it up. So it's 28-28 throughout the fourth, and we went to overtime, and we got the ball first, scored a touchdown, and then we was able to stop those guys. So. At the end of the day, we made one more play than they did, and was able to get out of here with a W.
Coach Maynor, Akil Glass, really solid performance, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns, 28 of 38. Can you touch a little bit on his play for you guys on Saturday?
Yes, Akil played good again. He's having a big year, and he continued to lead this team on and off the football field, and the guys look up to him. He's just making all the right reads, getting us in and out of plays, having a great year, man. He's spreading the ball around, making it tough on the defense. We had about 6-7 different guys had receptions this week, and had about 4 or 5 that had at least 5 catches. So Quill's doing a great job of spreading the ball around, keeping the defense honest, keeping those guys off balance. And he's playing great, man. He's playing great. He's having a great year, and he's leading us, giving us a chance to win every week.
Coach Maynor, as far as just looking ahead to your next opponent, you guys will travel to face Grambling State there in Louisiana. Can you preview that matchup for us?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Coach Fives always does a great job. He always has a good team, and early in the season you can never look at his record and judge how good they are, because they always play up out of conference and normally start off with not a good record because you're playing up. Normally 1-2 or 0-3 start. A lot of HBCUs have to do that. We have to gain money, so we have to play up a lot of times. And they normally go out to a good start record-wise, but they always have a good football team, and they can always run the table. So they got their first win last week, and I'm pretty sure they're hungry and their back's against the wall, and he's going to challenge those guys, and they're going to come out and play the way Grambling plays. So we have to be ready to play. We have to play well on all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. But we'll be up for the challenge. It'll be a great contest. Looking forward to it.
Coach Maynor, Trevor A. Jones, how you doing, Coach?
Good, Trevor. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. Always a pleasure talking to you. Talk about Akil and his play, but I want you, if you don't mind, to talk about the offensive line and how important they've been for you this season and the development that you've seen in your front, because you're going up against a good defense in Grambling State. So if you speak on that for a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, the offensive line is doing a tremendous job. Been doing it all year. We lost our offensive lineman to Graves, and so some other guys had to step it up, and then Josh Williams has been out for a couple games, and so we had guys had to step up in his place, and so these guys have been stepping up, man, and just doing a great job of protecting the Quill and and giving him time to throw the ball, and then open up holes for Bentley and Gary Quarles, man. It's like, 1 week we'll rush for 150 yards, and the next week we rush for 250 yards. And then 1 week we'll throw for 189, and next week we'll throw for 377. So it's not rocket science. We're going to take what the defense gives us, and if you give us a run, we're going to run it. If you force us to throw the ball, play man, we're going to throw it. And we've proven we can throw the ball. We've proven we can run the ball. So, I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I just take what they give us and play to our strengths.
Understood, Coach. And you talked about Coach Styles and the G-Men earlier when you previewed the game. Is this Grambling State team looking a little different from any other team that you've seen in the past, or is it just they just keep on reloading and ready to go?
Yeah, they the same team, man. They still doing the same stuff. Like I said, they get off to a slow start because of the schedule, the strength of the schedule that they play so early. You look at their record, you think, oh, this Grambling team ain't that good. No, they still good. They just play a tough out-of-conference schedule every year, and what it does is get them ready for the conference schedule, So when they start playing in the conference, they playing against guys the same caliber or less, and those guys be ready to play, and they're already tested. They battle-tested. So, you got to take your hats off to Fob. He's done a great job since he's been there. He continues to do a good job. Of course, the record ain't where he wanted to be or where his fans wanted to be, but he's still a good football coach. He ain't forgot how to coach football. Don't get it twisted now. He can still coach some football. He still got some players over there. They still do the same thing. And if you beat Grambling, you need to beat a good football team.
I guess that motto you used to say, I believe, sometime back, respect all and fear none, still applies, correct?
Yes, sir. Every week, respect all, fear none, man. We respect everybody, man. Everybody put their pants on just like we do. They tie their shoes up just like we do. We don't disrespect anybody. We respect all. Once you stop disrespecting people, you're going to get beat. So we don't do that. We go in every game like it's a championship game, 1 week at a time, trying to go 1-0 this week, and then get ready for the next week.
Coach Maynard, always a pleasure. Good luck to you, Coach.
Sir, thank you.
Coach Maynard, Roscoe Nance. Good morning. How you doing?
Good, Roscoe.
Akil, talk about where he has made the most improvement.
Game management. His accuracy. His accuracy is better than last year. We throwing it around a little bit, and his completion percentage is way up there, man. He's I think he was 28 or 38 this past week. He don't have a lot of incompletions. His accuracy is good down the field, his deep ball, his short balls where he's throwing the ball out in front of guys where they can get some yak yards and not throwing it on the back shoulder and turning them around and slowing them down. So it's a lot to accuracy, giving those guys a chance to get yak yards, and his game management. He's just grown up a whole lot since last year. I don't know how many touchdowns he got, but it's pretty close to what he threw last year, probably already in 6 games. I don't really look at his stats a lot. The only stat I really care about is the wins and losses. But I'm pretty sure he's up there pretty high in the league with yardage and touchdowns and all that stuff. And 2 years ago he threw 4 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and then last year he threw 20 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. And I don't know where he's at this year, but I know he's probably pretty close to that 20 touchdown mark, and only probably about 3 or 4 interceptions that I can recall, I think. So, he's matured all the way around, every aspect. He's lost a little bit of weight, maybe got one step faster, which ain't very fast, but he got maybe one step faster. He's just become a complete player.
Well, do you attribute that to just natural maturation or what?
Both natural and his work ethic. Him wanting to be great, him wanting to be good, him not living off last year's success that he had, and being second team all conference and leading the league in passing. He wasn't satisfied with that. He wanted to be better, and he worked his butt off last spring and in the summer. And then he's always in the office with the coaches and always trying to get better.
Coach Maynard, as always, we appreciate your time and look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We now go to the Alabama State Hornets, where the Hornets dropped a 35-7 decision at home to the Alcorn State Braves. We'll be joined by head coach Ely. Do we have Coach Ely on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Coach. If you could, as always, start us out with an opening statement about your team's last outing against Alcorn State.
Well, I mean, it was a game where we made too many mistakes against a very good football team. Created some short fields for them early on, got behind, and just never recovered. I mean, it was a game of penalties and turnover for us, but, you know, they a real good football team. They were able to capitalize on our mistakes. They, you know, they played that kind of game. They were able to extend plays and get the ball down the field and was able to get out of here with a win.
Good morning, Coach. This is Rance. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Talk about the long delay and what effect that might have had.
Well, I mean, you know, both teams were delayed, and we did the best, you know, that we could to get through it. You know, anytime you get the psyche of the young man, you know, ready to play a game at 2 and then don't play to 6, you know, it's a lot, and a lot more distractions. You know, most of the time when you're at home, families and stuff are in and out, kids, you know, so you got to constantly try to keep the kids in the room. It was rain, so you trying to find a way to get dry. But, you know, again, you know, the game still has to be played, and you know, and as I told the young man, you know, we got to find a way to refocus. It's almost like we never refocused. The team that we brought out of the locker room, you know, wasn't the same focus, you know, that we had coming into the game. But, you know, they did a good job of focusing their guys, and we have to find a way to do the same. And we, you know, but we didn't, and you know, and they got a victory.
Coach, definitely had Davis in our thoughts and prayers this weekend. I know there was a tough play with him there. Can you give us an update just on how he's doing?
He got released that night. It was a situation where he got sacked, and on the way down, the other defender was coming in, and his head fell back into that kid's knee. So it was more of a bruise, you know, just from the head slamming against the defender coming in knee. And but as always, you know, taking precautions when you have any kind of head injuries, and that's why the precautions and all those things was put in place to make sure it was nothing else beyond that. So, but he got released. He was around yesterday watching film and doing his rehab and moving forward. So, you know, thank God everything was good with that.
No, I was going to say, Coach, this is Mike Wallace with Bryan City Media up in Memphis. You've had a chance to have a look at both quarterbacks for Alcorn the last couple of years. How much of a luxury is it to have a guy like Felix to come off? And what did you see from him that you were most impressed with coming off Alcorn's bench the last 3 weeks?
Great pocket poise. He knows where his where his receivers are. He extend plays with constantly looking downfield, so you know, your fits can't leave. He hurt us a little bit with guys looking back at him and losing a receiver, and he was able to connect on them. So, you know, anytime you got one quarterback in this conference is great, but when you got two, is unbelievable. And both of those guys are great quarterbacks that does well with moving their offense and getting things done.
Coach, your upcoming matchup against Jackson State, obviously, you know, they're on the eastern side with you guys, so all those games have they're important, but all of them, you know, take on a different meaning when you're playing teams on your side. Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of this upcoming matchup and kind of preview that game for us?
Well, you know, again, it's an Eastern Conference game. Coach Hendricks is doing a great job with those guys there. You know, they're flying around on defense. You know, their record is definitely not indicative of how well they're playing. Offensively, they're creating some, you know, lanes for the quarterback to run as well as the other to throw. So, you know, they're doing some good things. And you know, they've been in pretty much in every ball game. So, you know, it's a real good team. We're going into hostile territory for homecoming. You know, we know all the things that go along with that. And we got to find a way to get in and find a way to get out with a win.
Coach Ely, as always, we appreciate your time and look forward to speaking with you again next week.
I appreciate you guys. Have a good morning.
We now go to Arkansas Pine Bluff, where the Golden Lions got a 45-38 win at home over Lane, and we'll be joined by head coach Thomas. Do we have Coach Thomas on the line?
Yes.
Hey, good morning, Coach. As always, if you could, please just start us out with an opening statement about your team win over Lane at home.
Anytime you can get a win is always a blessing. When we talk to the kids, college football today ain't nobody giving wins out, and we gladly accept it. As we continue to build this culture and go on this journey of establishing a great culture, not only academically but athletically also. Homecoming, great atmosphere as usual. The fans came out and really supported these young men. Got off to a pretty good start. I think we was leading maybe 24-7 or something at halftime, and kids was really locked in. But, just came out the second half too flat. And, you got Coach Burrows and that staff, they did a good job of making some adjustments. And, we came out and I think we might have had 16 missed tackles the second half. Just not focused, but, big-time athletes on their side. Allowed us to miss those tackles. I think they got a running back from Michigan State or something that transferred, and a big-time wide out. They did a good job in space, but just excited about the kids. That I think it got tied up, and Taylor Porter, big-time play at the end. Just kind of showed why he's one of the best backs, in the country by kind of sealing it, and then defensively just having the wherewithal to be able to finish it and stop that offense on that last drive was huge. So definitely was a big win for us. Don't think we would have won that, last year or the year before, but it's just, starting to get better and starting to build an identity of winning these close games. Don't want them close, but, hey, we'll take them. And also the curse of homecoming is now over since we hadn't won since 2012, a homecoming rather. So I've got a lot of work to do, and we'll get out here later on this evening, and we'll continue to get better and build on this foundation.
Coach, you touched a little bit about, the importance of changing the culture, and obviously you guys will be kind of getting into the stretch run of your conference schedule. I believe you played all of your non-conference games. So now going into this upcoming week where you have Mississippi Valley State at home, can you preview that conference matchup for us with the Delta Devils?
Yeah, coaches, in similar situations, young coaches, building, getting programs kind of off the ground and up and running, and he's doing a great job. You look at the kids, fly around and make plays. Defensively, they got, high number of sacks in all the statistical categories defensively, so they're doing a great job over there. And offensively, big-time quarterback, make a lot of plays in space, and, we got to be sound. And, they got one up on us last year, and I think maybe the last 4 or 5 years, so they kind of own us in these last couple of years. And we just got to play our brand of football. We got to tackle in space. Got to be mentally prepared for what they're giving us offensively and defensively, and also the kicking game. And, it's going to be huge for us as we go down this conference stretch, just to play sound and play better. And that's what we'll start doing later on this evening.
Coach, from a offensive perspective, what do you think you have to do to be successful against them, and from a defensive perspective as well, just on both sides of the ball? What do you think your team has to do in order to come out the game with a win?
Offensively, we can't turn it over. I think we got 7 turnovers in the last 2 games, and that's not us. That's the most important component of this football game is the football, and we can't continue to give it away, and we most definitely can't do that in the red zone, and complete zone area. So we got to take care of the football. If we do that and give ourselves those extra possessions, whether we score with them or not, we turn the field over and allow offense to have to drive the football, but we can't just turn the football over. And defensively, we got to be able to play in space well. That quarterback, man, he's dynamic, and they got some big-time running backs and some length on the edge that can make some big-time throws and catches. So we got to be great in space defensively, and we got to do a good job of taking care of the football. And if we do that, then we'll give ourselves all the advantages that we need, and we'll see where it ends up after 4 quarters.
Hey, Coach, this is Michael Wallace with Grind City Media over in Memphis. You spoke on this a couple of weeks ago. It's sort of unrelated, but just your ties back to to Felix Harper, and you were saying that you saw something special in that kid, even though he was waiting his turn down at Alcorn State. What have you seen from him? What did you know about him at that time that would allow him to step into this opportunity and play the way he's played so far?
Well, all praise to Coach Mack for really pulling the trigger on the kid. Because when you look at him physically, he don't overwhelm you, but the film and just the leadership part when him and his family was down was just he was a quarterback, and he acted like the quarterback. He carried himself, and we had a chance to go against him, on scout team, and he always gave us great looks, but just was, real poised. If that kid was 6'3", 6'4", I don't think he'd be in this conference. He just had that type of skill set. So really just a blessing for him and his family and that great program with Coach Mack, man, for that kid to have the wherewithal, just to be able to stay there, wait his turn. And now he reaping the benefits and getting the blessings of it.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Coach Thomas, talk about the poise your team has shown in the last couple of games. The Tennessee State game comes down to the wire. The game on Saturday, similar fashion, and the growth you're seeing for the young men to be able to stay mature and focused in those late game situations.
It's huge. It's huge, and that's what we hang our hat on as we changing this culture and the mindset. That they are good enough, and in these tight situations, these tight games, they starting to pull some of them out. When you look at last year, I think we had maybe 3 in overtime, including the Valley game. We just didn't finish. But that was just to me, it was just faith-based reason why we did. Not believing that in which we couldn't put our hands on and touch it. Now they believe and they see it. It was never one time in either one of those games, homecoming or the Tennessee State game, where when you look in their faces or you hear the chat on the sideline that we wasn't going to win, everything was positive, everything was upbeat. And, it's just the growth, and that's the most exciting part when you go out in a couple hours and you practice and you see their eyes, light up and understanding the concepts and knowing that they are winners, and that Meek Mill mentality that we have of championship, is just that, so we're just excited about, them believing. You're talking about 5 games in 5 years, and for some of these seniors, we got 2 things already off their checklist, and that's the first time in school history that they've beat Tennessee State, and also the first time that they've won homecoming. So we'll continue to check these boxes as we go on this journey, but just really proud of them, because they got to take these same skill sets and characteristics and apply it to life.
Coach Thomas, as always, we appreciate you taking some time on the call with us and look forward to speaking with you next week.
Same here.
We now go to Alcorn State, where the Braves got a big road win over Alabama State this past weekend, winning by a score of 35-7 there in Montgomery. We'll be joined by head coach Fred McNair. Do we have Coach McNair on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Coach. As always, if you could please just start us out with an opening statement about your team's road win at Alabama State.
Yeah, anytime you go on the road and you're against a good football team as Alabama State, it's always good, man, to be able to come out with a win on the road. I think we started off with a score, Felix Harper to Pringle, 8-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter. Also, Felix come back with 18-yard run. Felix come back and threw another touchdown pass to Nigel Woods. Then Duffy ended up scoring a 67-yard touchdown run to end the half. Come back defensive-wise, we had a shutout in the first half, and defense come back out and give up an opening third quarter touchdown. And come back in the fourth, we scored another touchdown to kind of cap it off from Felix to Anderson. So it was a tough ball game. Delay for 4 hours. I just want to appreciate Coach Ely for just giving us the opportunity to go in and fellowship in the cafeteria, man. That meant a lot to, I think, both teams to be able to have some food in their body before that game. Talking about a 4-hour delay and no food. I just want to appreciate him for the things that he allowed us to do, and just to show the kind of respect that each team have for each other. We go in the cafeteria and we eat with the Alabama State football player with no talking, no trash talking, no arguments, and that was great, man. It was a great atmosphere. I thought that was wonderful to see 2 teams just come together and socialize and so much eat in the same place before a football game, before they go to war. That meant a lot the way they handled themselves professionally for from that standpoint. So hats off to Coach Eden and his staff for allowing us to do that, man. It was great.
Coach Roscoe Nance, how you doing this morning?
Good, Roscoe.
Good. Talk about your quarterback situation. Is Harper the starter now, or what's going on there?
Well, normally, when you lose a starting quarterback, the backup always come in and play his role. And right now I think that's what Felix is doing an excellent job at it. We can play these guys every week to play, because, who knows when the next guy's up, turns up. So right now, Felix is playing well. And he'll start for us until Noah come back, So we'll see where that is at. And, I've been through this quarterback situation before. I had John Gibbs. He got hurt his senior year. I had Lenore's Footman step in. I had Lenore's Footman to start. He got hurt his senior year. I had Noah Johnson come in and step in. And so now Noah, his senior year, he gets hurt. And now just so having Felix Harper is the guy to come in and keep the thing moving, man. So it's always a luxury to have quarterbacks, that come in and play well. And I think these guys prepare themselves to do that week in and week out. So we just continue to trend, man, and when Noah get back, hopefully he'll come back and be able to compete for his job back, So right now we're gonna go with Felix until Noah come back, So it's not a starter right now, but he's gonna start until Noah get back, and see where he at.
So what is Noah's injury, and how long do you expect him to be out?
He just got a bruised shoulder, man, and just a strain on his torn shoulder, and and it's just day to day right now, just how well he can come back from the pain and the things he got there. So just day to day and see how he feel with treatment and all. So with the extent of it, we don't know. It mostly depends on the player sometimes, how much pain probably they can take, So, but other than that, that's where we at with that.
So do you subscribe to the theory that a starter can't lose his position due to injury, or how do you look at that?
I mean, I look at it the way the kid is playing. The kid is playing well, he'll stay in there until something happens, That's the same way as a starter, If a starter just stumbles and can't get things moving, then we put the backup in and he moves the ball and he'll stay there for a while until I see better. That's where I take the quarterback position as I approach it. I played the position before. I've been in situations, so I understand the frustration it is to lose a job by injury, but at the same time, I have to be a team player, and I think that the way this team is going now and the way this team is still rolling and winning, and Felix is doing a great job. So, just how well Noah can come back and do things the right way, as we expect them to do, just continue to be a supportive cast of what we're doing and being active on what we're doing with team-wise.
Hey, Coach, this is Mike Wallace up in Memphis with Grind City Media. Just along those same lines, I know you guys have been doing it with great defense as well, number one defense in the SWAC, and also solid special teams play. But when you look at that quarterback position and how much you sort of have to manage it from a communication standpoint, how are those conversations going with Noah and yourself and Felix, and also between those two? Because Felix talked about how much those two still rely on one another off the field as well.
Oh, it's a great relationship. You still have to build that bond. When one quarterback goes down and get a chance to see some of the things that he missed out on just watching the game instead of being out there in it, And I think that's what most of the time the backup sometimes get great at, watching the starter, watch some of the mistakes that he make and not do those things that he makes as a starter. And now when he comes in, he knows those things that the starter made mistakes on. He can't do that. Allow it to happen. So I think it's a unique situation. Being a backup, and being a starter as well. So you can kind of gain experience from everything. But the relationship with those two guys are phenomenal. They communicate and they talk on and off the field, and the relationship that these guys built. As coaches, and I think Coach Pat White is doing a great job with those guys. They're keeping them in line as far as that. Relationship is not one of those things where you have a quarterback controversy. There's nothing of that nature. So, but these guys do a great job of communicating and staying in line with each other. So it makes a big difference. when you have guys like that. Easily it could turn sour, at the quarterback position because you want to be the one to lead the team. And but a situation like this is no hour when it comes down to injuries or selfishness when these guys are competing. They all tend to help each other, at that position.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Coach, Nico Duffy has, really shown a lot of explosive ability as far as playmaking for you guys on the offensive side of the ball. Can you just talk a little bit about what he brings to your offense?
Well, the biggest thing is depth-wise, and that's the biggest thing that we look for, coming into the season during camp. How can we get better with our depth at running back? We got Waller, you got Nico, you got Jonathan Bolton, and we had a young upper guy last night Saturday night that came in and played well. Lou Turner, run the ball hard, and at the end there you had Marsh came in and ran the ball hard. So just building depth in those positions to kind of help us out. And I think what Nico is doing is something special. You're stepping up and playing the way he's playing. Still got a lot of work to do. He misses some reads, and I just got to get there. But it's just going to come with time. And the best experience is playing experience. So the more you play and see it, the speed of the game, he'll get there. He'll be one of the great premier backs in this league, I think, in the upcoming years.
Coach, you guys will be back at home this week against Savannah State. Can you preview that matchup for us?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's always tough when you're playing a triple option team, man. It's one of those games that I tell you, it's a good thing that we got a bye after that week. So hopefully we don't have any serious injuries, man. It's always tough to play a triple option team. I think Coach Quinn down there at Savannah State is doing a great job with those guys, man. They lost this past week against Charlotte, but that's a great football team. They got some real physical guys, good-looking guys. They D1, man. They look like some FBS football program. They got some good-looking kids. They really look well. They pass on defense and multiple formation on offense. They're gonna give you a whole lot of stuff, man. So we got to have a right mindset this week of defense. We got to make sure our eyes in the right place and keys and really hone in on what they do best. And offense, we just got to stay focused and execute. This past weekend we didn't have any turnovers and we keep the ball off the ground and keep the ball out of the secondary hands interception-wise. I think we'll be fine, but we got to play a hard ball game. It's going to be a ball game that's going to be very tough for us. We just got to be mentally prepared to go out and fight for 60 minutes against this good Savannah State football program.
And, Coach, before you get off, I want to ask you about Muhammad, his play this week, just as far as with the 2 interceptions and what he did in that ball game against Alabama State.
Just talking with the staff yesterday and just meeting yesterday afternoon, Solomon can be a premier linebacker. Solomon is one of the kids that really can go to the next level and play if he does it right. The 2 interceptions that he had, Coach Thornton talked about it. He did it right. Those 2 interceptions, he was in the right spot at the right time, just like Coach draw it up, But, Solomon has a tendency of, have the warmer eyes, he's looking everywhere and trying to do too much. But if he does it right, Solomon can be a premier a player on the next level. He get his mind right and grow up a little bit, and I think he'll be great. But he played, I wouldn't say his greatest game. He had 2 interceptions, but he could play a whole lot better than he played.
Coach, we appreciate it, and we did note that we got the schedule with you and Coach Thomas reversed, so we appreciate your patience on jumping on. Look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Always prepared, man. Go Braves.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We now go to the Grambling State Tigers, where Grambling was able to get a big road win this past weekend. They defeated Jackson State by a score of 44-21, and we'll be joined by Coach Fobbs with Grambling State. Do we have Coach Fobbs on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Coach. As always, if you would please start us out with an opening statement about your team's big win over Jackson State this past weekend.
Well, it was good to, finally get in the win column. Very, very tough opponent, Jackson State, very well coached, played extremely hard. I thought our kids, very, very pleased with, their mentality, their attitude, their way of going about, our struggles and what we've experienced. They're doing well, and they're fighting through it all. So it's always good to get a victory, but it was also good to run the football extremely well also. So very, very good victory for us, and we're pleased with it.
Coach, I know in talking with you earlier in the week, one of the things that you reiterated was the fact that you wanted your guys to get off to a fast start. You seem to be able to do that, as far as jumping out with a 24-7 to lead over Jackson State. How critical was it just for you guys to get going, and get some points up on the board quickly?
Well, I mean, it's always, important. I think, any coach that coaches, want to get off to a fast start, when you want to try to apply pressure on the other team. I don't know anyone that wants to start slow, so, we were fortunate, a situation happened and we made a mistake and they were trying to capitalize on it and our kids kept playing hard and did a really good job of blocking kick and getting it in the end zone, and I thought that shifted the momentum in our favor. And then we kind of built on that, the second half.
And, Coach, that block kick almost kind of looked like it swung the momentum in you guys' favor. And in the second half, obviously, you came out, with some more intensity to up the pressure on them. But can you just, elaborate a little bit more on how big that play was for you guys on special teams?
Well, it was huge. I'll tell you, it was a momentum shift within about maybe 20 seconds. I mean, you go from, trying to just run the football and get out of a half to, 5 seconds later, being in a position where, you're trying to stop them from scoring, to go into the halftime, with a little bit of momentum. And not only, were we able to, stop them, we were able to score off of it. And I thought that was a huge, huge gift, for our football team this past weekend.
Coach Ken Rashad, HBC Sports. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, talk briefly, if you will, about the play of Joseph McWilliams, who back-to-back weeks had interceptions for touchdowns. Talk about his play and how inspirational and the impact that he's had on your defense so far this year.
Well, Joe has always been a really good football player for us. From his freshman year, all the way up, he's been a guy that is very, very confident and believes wholeheartedly in himself. And the thing I'm more impressed with Joe is his strides off the field, as far as having to sit out a year and then come back and really start to become an even better person off the field and a better student. And the thing that Joe is so unselfish and works extremely hard at his craft and wanting to be the best player he possibly can. And I'm glad to see that, the last couple of years have kind of paid off for him. And this season has gone rather well for him the first, 5 weeks. So he has really good ball skills and catches the ball extremely well and takes advantage of opportunities when those opportunities present themselves. And he's done a really good job of being in the right place at the right time and doing his job.
Coach Bob, you talked a little bit earlier about you guys being able to establish a ground game, and I know Dominique had 10 carries for 129 yards. Amazing average, 12.9 per carry with the 2 touchdowns. What did you see specifically from his play and also from the play of your offensive line?
Well, when playing a lot of 3-man front, we felt that we were, being forced to run the football, and I thought they did a really good job schematically. But I thought, our offensive line also did a really good job of really running the football, and then Dominique coming in and really, getting himself going and running the football like he's capable of. And not only that, but giving us a big play threat, which is something offensively that you're always looking for. So, anytime you're able to make a huge impact within one play with the ball in your hand, that's always huge for an offensive team.
And Coach, just the play from Hickbottom. I know when you look at the stats, it might not necessarily pop out at you, for as far as 97 yards and the 14 completions. But I thought he did a good job of managing the game. So can you just talk a little bit about his play at quarterback?
Well, we're a little disappointed, right now at that particular situation. And we have to play better. But I also think a lot of it has to do with, what's being taken away as well. And when you're forced into a situation where you have to, basically manage the game and hand the football off, then you got to make sure that you're doing that extremely well. And I think the whole key to being a really good offense, regardless of what you would like to do, is to be really good at taking what the defense gives you, but also being really good at your second option. And if you're really good at your second option, it makes you a lot more difficult to defend. And I thought, we had the running game going. And because we had the running game going, we were kind of put in a situation, forced into a situation where we had to hand the football off. And I thought our kids did a good job of it.
Coach, my last question is for McCarthy. He's SWAC Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week. 10 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack. Was really just all over the field. Can you talk a little bit about his play overall?
Well, that's his first game playing. That's D-Mac's first game playing. He's been out for 4 weeks, and he's finally gotten the opportunity to play and was finally eligible to play. And so it was good to get him back to really help us in stopping the run. And he made a huge impact. And, for him to be a little bit out of game shape and to play his first ball game, it kind of, went well for him and also well for us in helping us, really stop the run.
Coach Fobbs, as always, we appreciate your time on the call. Look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thank you.
We now go to the Jackson State Tigers, where Jackson State dropped a 44-21 home decision to the Grambling State Tigers, and we'll be joined by Coach Hendrick with Jackson State. Do we have Coach Hendrick on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Coach. As always, if you could please start us out with an opening statement about your team's last outing versus Grambling State.
Well, we played half of football. You can't play half of football and be successful. We had the game in pretty good stead going into the end of the first half, and where we turned them over, got a chance to try to kick a field goal at the end of the half to go up 10-3, and they end up blocking the field goal and going up 10-7 on us, and I believe that was a turning point in the football game. And they did a nice job in the second half of getting some offense and putting points on the board, and we didn't play as well as we had earlier in the game.
Coach, defensively, Keontae Hampton, 10 solos, 13 tackles, tackle for loss, and a sack. Can you just talk a little bit about his performance defensively for you guys?
Well, Keontae is the leader of our defense, and a really good defensive, really good instinctive football player. And, he's still a young guy that has still some growth to get, but right now he's probably as good as there are as a defensive football player in the SWAC.
And, Coach, could you touch a little bit about the play at quarterback? I know Jones got the start. How did you assess his play, and what are some of the things that you thought maybe you guys could improve on from that position?
Well, he played, he managed the game for us and did a nice job to be a young guy coming in, led us on a touchdown drive, kind of controlled the ball a good bit in the first quarter, made some couple explosive plays for us with his legs. And, just played pretty decent as a freshman. As any freshman know, he still has a lot of growth potential to get, and we're looking for him to grow as we go forward into the season.
Coach, your team will get right back into conference play this upcoming week. You'll get Alabama State at home. Can you preview that matchup for us?
Yeah, we got to play against a team that is pretty physical football team. Played really good on defense, has an athletic guy at quarterback on offense, do a pretty good job in the running game. And, it'd be a big challenge for us. Coach,
as far as the running game, I know Grambling State was able to have some success rushing the ball against you guys. When you went back and looked at the film, what stood out as far as, things that you'd like to see your team improve on from that game? Just the fundamental things, making fundamental errors and closing out things and doing things that, a couple of runs he got, two of the runs he got, we were in man coverage and, not got outside rushing, not closing out, and then a guy who's covering his man, not over where he's supposed to be covering his man. That's the guy who's carrying the ball, plus a block over there. We should have had two guys in the hole, but we didn't get those guys to that place, and they end up getting 2 long runs on us. All right, Coach Hendrick, as always, thank you, sir, for taking some time with us, and we look forward to speaking with you next week. I appreciate it. Thank you. We now go to Mississippi Valley State, where the Delta Devils got a 31-23 win at home over Virginia Lynchburg, their first win of the season, and we'll be joined by head coach Dancy. Do we have Coach Dancy on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Good morning, Coach. If you could, just start us out with an opening statement about your team's big win at home this past week over Virginia Lynchburg.
I'll tell you what, it feels good to get a win. But as it relates to the game, I thought those guys came out and played hard. Coach Rome did a great job of preparing those guys to come in and face us. I thought they came out, extra motivated, played harder, played tougher than we did. We didn't execute well the whole game. I thought it was one of our worst games of the season. I don't know why, but we just didn't play well. And just give credit what credit is due. We was lucky to come out on the winning side, and they just played a better football game. And I just thank God for a win.
Good morning, Coach. This is Mike Prince with the Open Mic. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Mike.
All right. Coach, you sound a little down this week than you have on the other weeks with the win. I know you said that they didn't play to their performance. What do you attribute that to?
I have, if I could point it out, Mike, I'll tell you what, I'll point it out and show it to you. But we just didn't come to play well. We couldn't execute nothing really offensively, defensively. Yeah, the stats show, but we just didn't perform the way we normally perform. But give credit what credit is due. They came out extra motivated, and our guys didn't come out and play like they normally would, and they out-hit us. They was more physical, tougher, and I just thought they did a great job in preparing their guys to play against us. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the homecoming atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere around here this weekend. So I can't point it out, but we got a tough one this week. Coach Thomas has done a marvelous job over there at University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, man, and we have to play better in order to even go in to even compete with those guys right now.
So with that being said, Coach, you got your first win, and you got a big conference game and divisional game coming up. What's the mental approach that you're going to get your guys prepared for this game, and what are going to be some of the keys for success this week?
Just going out and having great practice, but also just the focus level got to get back to the Mississippi Valley State focus level. I thought it was just a big drop off from what I've been seeing in the last few weeks when it comes to the focus, and we have to regain our focus level. We got to go out and prepare this week like we done the rest of the weeks, but not taking. I don't want to say we took those guys for granted because we never do that in football, but I just thought we took a step back because when we can't do that this week, we're just going to go out and practice hard and practice well and prepare for these guys. They have an explosive offense and playing well defensively, and we have our hands full this week.
Coach Dancy, I know you alluded to play on offense this past week. What do you want to see improvement-wise from your offense to kind of get things going for you as you get ready to get into the stretch run of conference play?
just being more consistent. You know, I've seen our offense play at a high level this year. You know, in more game in back-to-back games, and we got to get it back to where we're playing more consistently offensively and more efficient offensively from a quarterback standpoint, but also not from. And it's not just on our quarterback. Everybody has to make plays when their numbers called, and right now we're just not doing it. We need to be more explosive in our passing game, and that's what we're going to go out and work on this week. We're going to go out and make sure that we're, you know, getting back to what we do, and that's, you know, that's being a physical, upfront team, running the ball and making plays, explosive plays offensively in the passing game. We need it.
Coach, Arkansas Pine Bluff, obviously, few games or the games that they played this season, they've ran two quarterbacks. Obviously, they got the Ballard out there, receiver who poses a threat. From an offense or from a defensive perspective for you guys, what do you hope to be able to limit or contain them in from an offensive unit perspective?
I mean, we pride ourselves in stopping the run, man, and we have to stop the run. They got two dynamic running backs that's in the, you know, top number. One is number 3 in the conference in rushing. One is number 4 in the conference in rushing. And I think Keyshawn has only played in 4 games, and this kid is already at, you know, almost 400 yards, but averaging almost 7 yards a carry. So these two running backs that they have are probably two of the best that I've seen in this conference when you're talking about a dynamic duo of running backs, and we got to make sure we control the run game. And in the passing game, we really want to stop the run game and make them pass it. But, you know, when you got 3 receivers that, you know, 2 in the top 10, that's in receiving category. So that's why I said we got our hands full, man. We have to go out and have great practice. I think it starts at practice. When you put good practices together, sometimes, you know, it pays off on Saturday. So, you know, it's all about the practice. It's all about the preparation. And that's what we're going to do to be able to contain these 2 good running backs that we're going to face this weekend.
And, Coach, having been to that game between those 2 institutions a couple times, there's always a real good atmosphere. Obviously, you guys are within a close proximity of each other's campus. So what kind of environment do you expect to see out there this week on the road?
Well, I know it's going to be a packed house. You know, they've been doing a great job. Like I said, Coach Thomas has done a great job at that institution. You know, that's his alma mater. So, you know, the fans are going to be there to support them. But I expect our fans to be, you know, be the same way. You know, it's a close proximity game. It's not too far away. So I expect it to be a great atmosphere Saturday. And like I said, man, we just got to come out and do what we need to do and perform well to put ourselves in position to win.
Coach, as always, we appreciate your time on the call. Look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We now go to Prairie View, Texas, and the Prairie View A&M Panthers, where the Panthers had a bye this past week, and they'll get set to travel to face the Southern Jaguars in Baton Rouge this upcoming weekend, and we'll be joined by head coach Dooley. Do we have Coach Dooley on the line?
Yes, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Coach. As always, if you could please, I know you guys bye this last week, but if you could kind of just recap your bye week for us and preview your matchup at Southern.
Well, yeah, I thought it was a much needed game to our rest. We had 5 straight games on to play that, so I thought it was good that our team got a chance to not really rest, but to gather ourselves and try to correct some of the things that we made in the first half of the season and just go over some detailed things. So I thought it was a good bye week, and I'm just looking forward to go down and face a strong Southern University football team this coming weekend.
Good morning, Coach. I'm sorry about the mix-up there.
That's okay. Good morning.
As you stated, a fresh week, a chance to get some things corrected and even address the personnel situation that's been going on of late. Are you at liberty at this point to give me like the status of Story Jackson, Ron Collins, and Reggie Stubblefield?
Yeah, those guys are back, you know, as healthy as it could be. You know, you're talking about midway through the season, so you're going to have little bumps and bruises, so we feel good. Those guys got a chance to work out this past weekend, so everything is okay for those guys, and we look forward to playing this coming weekend.
Now, how much of an impact will it have for you on the defensive side of the ball with those guys being able to come back in?
I mean, a huge impact. You're talking about 2 starters that was off and that was injured. So, of course, that's always going to be impactful for those guys to return, and plus to give those guys that was backing them up some much-needed experience.
Okay, now, Coach, everybody is always talking about the high-flying offense, averaging 35.8 a game, but the defense with the impact players returning, and right now you're averaging about 36.6. What are some of the things that you'll be able to do differently that you couldn't do before without these guys in the lineup?
Oh, well, we keep our same scheme. It's just the lineup. You know, our motto has always been, you know, we're gonna coach every individual the same, and that's what we go out to recruit. So it's just the next man up. So it's nothing going to change. We're going to continue to do what we do and get better, get good at what we do. So it's nothing going to change. I mean, we're into the season, this midway of the season, so we just do some corrections on some things that we think that needed to be corrected and just move forward. Okay.
Now, Coach, I don't know how true it is. I'm just going by the reports I'm seeing on this Twitter deal. The kicker, Zach Elder, from his tweet, is he no longer part of the program?
Well, you know, I don't discuss things of that nature like that out publicly. We got a team move forward. We got teams that are here, guys that are practicing. So I move forward and just work with the guys that are here and just continue.
Okay, so like I said, I was just asking because of what the tweet was going on. But anyway, part of the execution, you still say addressing the penalties. Still had 10 penalties the last time out. What is being done to help in this impact of this huge game coming up against Southern?
I mean, you know, to me, all games are big and huge, and so we work on those things each week. I mean, those things are never going to change. Those are things that you work on with your team to be a more disciplined football team, to make sure you correct those mistakes, because that can cost you some ball games. So we had the opportunity to do that in the off weekend. We do that on a weekly basis. So we're just moving forward and just getting ready for a huge challenge.
Okay, Coach, good luck to you on this week, sir.
Thank you.
Coach Dooley, this is Jim Kleinpeter with the Advocate in Baton Rouge. Could you talk a little bit about Tucker and his development and how he's improved this year, what he's doing better, and just some comments about him?
Yes, good morning, Jim. Yes, Tucker, he's a guy that works extremely hard. You know, he's a guy that you love to coach, because this individual, just as much work he puts on in the football field, he puts on in the classroom, you know. So I'm pleased with Tucker, but he brings a lot to the table. He's our pulse right now. There's no question about it. He's a high energy guy. He's a very guy that works hard. You know, you just can't say enough good things about this young man. The young man goes out and he's a good teammate. He's a good just a good person.
Well, looking at his height and weight, he looks kind of small. Has he been durable despite his the slight size?
When you talk about size, the only thing I would say is small is just as far as being something different to be his height. But everything else measures up. He's a short guy by stature, but plays big.
Mm-hmm. And what about your play at quarterback? It looks like Jalen's having another good year.
Yes, he's having some things we have to correct, and he continues to grow as a quarterback and getting better each week. So we're pleased with what he's doing, and just have to continue to move forward with Jalen, because he's a guy that's he's a big part of our offense, no question about it.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as your challenge against Southern? What's the biggest challenge facing Southern?
Well, I know it's going to be a good football team. It's going to be a well-coached football team, a team that has some good athletes, and I know about the environment. It's going to be a hostile environment, so we know that we have a challenge ahead of us. But that's how it should be. That's Southwestern athletic football. So we're looking forward to it.
What are some of your fond memories of having been there? What were some of the things you remember about your time?
Well, you know, I was able to be a part of Coach Richardson's staff that I thought gave a lot of knowledge to me, and you know, I learned from a lot of different individuals, especially Coach Richardson. Just the memories, just the family atmosphere, and just knowing that, the guys that we had on the team, those guys came to play. They came to play for 60 minutes. And, with that being said, the values that Coach Richardson was teaching, that sticks with me today. That's what I came up under from Coach Richardson. So a lot of things that he was able to accomplish and do, I try to follow in that footstep, which is a hard footstep to follow but I continue to try to strive to perfection and just continue to grow as I go in this business.
Do you stay in touch with him?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was afforded the opportunity to have lunch with him before we got underway this fall, and we continue to communicate. Like I said, he's a huge part of me having the opportunity to be where I am today.
How do you? What do you think? What do you see when you look at Southern's defense? It looked like they came up with a big game their last time out, and kind of shut down Pine Bluff.
I see a defense that is coached well. I see a defense with a lot of athletes on it. They play their scheme well. They're well coached. They fly around to the football.
Are you using last year's game against Southern as any kind of cautionary tale for your team?
No, we focus on what's taking place right now. We had an opportunity to view their tape from this year here and see some of the things that they do, because I like to say, each year brings on a different mindset of different individuals. You can have a team that's returning, but it's always going to get a different identity. So we had a chance to gauge what they've been doing this year here, and they've been playing some great football this year.
Coach Dooley, we really appreciate your time and look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thanks.
We now go to Baton Rouge and the Southern Jaguars, where the Jaguars enter this game against Prairie View off a bye week and will be joined by head coach Odoms. Do we have Coach Odoms on the line?
Yes, sir.
Morning, Coach. Thank you for taking some time with us today. If you could, just recap your bye week and preview your matchup against Prairie View.
The bye was just, I think, anytime you can get it out to about midway through the season. Give our guys a chance to rest and recover. Give some guys that's a little banged up a chance to heal, and I thought we took full advantage of that. The biggest thing is just resting your bodies, because I think we look at the bye as 5 games into the season, but we reported the count on July the 31st, and then when you take fall camp and then you go right into the first 5 games of the season, that's about 9 to 10 weeks of football. So it's a much-needed rest time for those guys when you get that first bye week about midway. So we took full advantage of it and gave our guys some time to rest their bodies and their minds, and they came back Sunday ready to go. Had a good run session Sunday, had a good mindset. So looked like they eager for the challenge that's coming up. And we're going to take on a very good PV football team. Coach Dooley's done a great job. They can score. I mean, they're as explosive as anybody we've seen this year on offense. And defensively, they're optimistic. I mean, they play hard, and they run to the football, and they get some timely turnovers, and a very aggressive bunch. They really bring some pressure at you. So we're going to have our hands full. They have 2 or 3 football players on that, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that are electrifying. When they touch the ball, they can make some plays, and it starts with their quarterback, who I think is off to a great start, having a good year, and we're going to have our hands full, and we're just looking forward to the opportunity that this Saturday is going to present, and we think it's going to be a great environment for college football.
Hey, Coach, it's Jim Kleinpeter with the Advocate.
Jim, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Hey, talk a little bit about defending DeWanya Tucker. Y'all had some success against him last year, and it looks like he's bounced back and having another good season. What is the challenge with him?
He's probably one of the better running backs in the conference. I mean, he has it all. He has great vision. He's elusive, and look like he's gotten a little bigger and a little stronger. So, I mean, he can turn a 3-yard run into a 70. So the biggest thing is unbelievable pursuit, great effort, and got control. You got to play well, and I think if our guys do that, we'll have a chance to be successful. I think when we go into a football game, Jim, we go in it with the identity that we got to stop the run, and that's what I believe as a defensive-minded guy. And if you do that, everything else will take place, and hopefully we can stop the run.
And then what about their quarterback? If you could go a little further in depth on what you see out of him.
Oh man, he's a top talent. I think he's big. Look like he's running a lot better this year, making better decisions. Has a really good arm, make all the throws, and he has a skill set of guys out there at receiver that can really make plays for him. So he's very talented, and he's as good as a lot of guys that we've seen. Very strong when he run the ball, throw the ball. He stands in that pocket. He makes good decisions, and I think he's the reason why they've having so much success on offense. He's gotten a lot better, and hopefully we're able to somehow contain him.
Are you comfortable now with Ladarius? It looked like y'all scaled some things back for him last week, and he seemed comfortable. Are y'all going to kind of move forward that way?
Well, I think each ball game deals you a different hand. We don't really go into a game saying that, he's our starter. I've said that from day one, and it's his job to not allow the backup a chance to play. It's our backup job to always prepare himself for the opportunity that he may get. It's still a long season, but I really think that he understands the importance of playing well. He understands the extra time that he has to put in to be a really good quarterback. And as long as he understands those things, he's going to play well. And that's what it's all about with him, is just making sure that he continues to prepare himself to be the leader that we need him to be. And so far, so good.
On defense, Joe Davis seems to be having a really strong season. He had two excellent games in a row. What's his development been like?
It's just great to see. I think, Jim, when you've been here as a coach and you get a chance to see these guys come in as freshmen, and then you get a chance to see them as seniors, you can see the growth. We're going to need him to have 3 good games in a row, Jim. He's going to need to play well, and if he does that, we like our chances. I think our defensive line is going to have to play outstanding football, and if they do that, it starts with Joe Davis and, the Caveman champion, Cotton and Jordan Lewis. Those guys are going to have to play, and they're going to have to play well. And if they do that, I really think this is a game where Joe could solidify himself as one of the better defenders in the conference.
Good morning, Coach. This is Mike Prince with the Open Mic. How are you today, sir?
Doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. Look, last year is last year, and I know this is a new season. You held Wanye Tucker to 17 yards on last season. What are you seeing that the Panthers are doing different this season compared to the notes and film you had from last season?
Well, the biggest thing is I think guys get older, and they put the work in the off season, and they get better. And you can see that with Tucker. He's done a great job. Fantastic young man from what I hear. He does an outstanding job on and off the field. I just think on offense, it's usually a couple guys, and he's one of those guys that you got to know where he's at all times, because, again, he can take the ball from 7 yards and turn it into a 70-yard break. So the biggest thing is knowing where he's at all the time and just doing your job, and really that's what we focus on. We understand that they're a high-powered offense, and they've been able to score a lot of points and put a lot of yards up. And you got to deal with that. That's not going to change. That's something each week when you get ready to play against Prairie View, you're going to have to deal with that. And we had 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to put a game plan together, and we're going to see if we're on to something again this year. But it should be a fun game, and I think it's going to be a challenge trying to stop Tucker and the quarterback.
Now, it's ironic that you would mention that, Coach. His last performance, 263 yards, a single game rushing record. And there was a tweet going around where Jag Nation has taken it that he called you guys out. I didn't see it like that, but he just simply said, we want to represent the West, Southern, you're next, which means you're the next opponent up. Did you look at that as a single you out, or a young man that's excited and caught up in the moment on a football field after a big win?
I just think it's a guy that's just very confident, and I think it was after a big win, and we don't really pay a lot of attention to it. It's just, nowadays with social media and the impact that social media have, you're going to be able to, everything's going to get blown out of proportion anyhow. So I'm always on our guys about, once you send it, you can't take it back. So you got to be prepared for the consequences that come with it. So I try to coach our guys to just be humble, do the right things, be humble, and just be careful what you put out there on social media, because everybody's waiting to run with something. We just don't even get involved with it. It's going to be a football game. We guaranteed 60 minutes, and that 60 minutes is going to decide whether you go extra time or who's going to win the football game, and that's what we focus on.
All right, Coach, and you also made mention that your key was going to be to stop the run. So does it? You feel that you would be more successful by forcing Prairie View to be one-dimensional and to rely more on their passing game?
No, I just think every week, every week I get on here, I just think when you're going to play good football and you're going to play good defense, nothing is more satisfying than being able to stop the run. I think when you can do that, it gives you a greater chance of winning football games. I think if you look at one stat and you say, what's something that increases your chances of winning, if you can probably hold teams under 100 yards rushing, you got a chance to win those ball games. Now, you can't go give up 400 yards passing, but at the end of the day, I think it's a start. And we like to start with stopping the run, and then we try to figure out how to corral the pass. And, it's always a cliche. When you throw the ball, one good thing can happen, but two bad things can happen. So I think we play the percentages, and hopefully our guys understand that. But our focus is always to stop the run.
My final question for you, Coach, is this. This is definitely a huge game within the Western Division, and we know the ultimate goal for each team involved is to end up playing for the SWAC championship. How important and major is this win over Prairie View as far as going down the rest of your season? Not that you're overlooking anyone in particular, but it puts you in a pretty good position, would it not?
I just think it's the next one on our schedule. I don't know what happens after that. It's a lot of football to be played. I do know we play them this weekend, and that's where our focus is. And I try to tell our teams, our goal is just to go 1-0 each week. We got a tough challenge this week. We understand what kind of football team we're facing, and we understand how we got to play. And we also understand we're at home, and the jungle should be rocking, and our fans will come out and support us. And at the end of the day, we go kick off, and hopefully our guys play the kind of football we think they're capable of playing, and it ends up going our way. But for us looking ahead at anybody else, we'll get to that bridge. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Coach Odoms, as always, we appreciate you taking some time with us and look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Go Jags.
We now go to Texas Southern, where we'll be joined by head coach McKinney. This past week, Tigers dropped a 35-28 decision to Alabama A&M in overtime, and with that, we'll be joined by Coach McKinney. Do we have Coach McKinney on the line?
Coach McKinney's here.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for hopping on with us a little bit early. If you could, Coach, give us an opening statement, just recapping your team's most recent outing at Alabama A&M.
Went to Alabama A&M this past weekend and fought really hard and lost a tough one in overtime. We feel like our team has improved from week to week, and we probably played our best game total overall as a unit. Offense, defense, special teams. Defensively, we feel like we once again gave up a couple big plays that could have decided the outcome of the game. Offensively, we didn't score touchdowns once we got in the red zone, so we came away with 3, and we feel like if those things had changed, we probably would have walked out of there with the win, but it didn't go our way. But our team is improving, and each week we feel like we get a little bit better, and we feel like that those wins are going to start to come.
Good morning, Coach. Mike with the Open Mic. How are you today, sir?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing real good. You spoke about the improvement of the team, but the struggle in the red zones. What improvements exactly are you seeing, and what could you tell us about your next opponent, Missouri S&T?
What we're seeing is a team that's starting to come together and understand what they're being asked to do from a schematic standpoint. Guys are understanding what the schemes are a little bit better, understanding what their roles are within the system, and starting to gel as one. As far as our next opponent, Missouri S&T, Division II school, they're 4-1 at the moment. They're returning league champion. So it's going to be a quality opponent for us and tough competition.
Coach, obviously this game coming up for you guys will be a little bit different from games that have been hosted by Texas Southern in years past, in that it'll actually be played on your campus right there at your stadium, your field where you practice at. Can you just talk a little bit about what type of environment you expect to see this weekend?
We expect a tremendous environment here. We're bringing in some temporary seating, trying to get the seat capacity to about close to 10,000. So we're expecting a large crowd and a nice atmosphere for our guys to play in front of a homecoming crowd. And homecoming everywhere is special. So our guys are looking forward to performing in front of Tigers all over.
And, Coach, just a couple questions about the game this past week. Devin Williams at quarterback was 25 for 40, threw for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can you talk a little bit about his play at quarterback for you?
Yeah, Devin stepped right in there and performed really well for us, made some key decisions. He's the guy who was in very tight quarterback battle going into the season. So we felt like once we put him out there, we had a guy who could have been our starter easily. And so he has that confidence. Our team believes in him. He went out and executed the game plan about as well as you can. And we're looking forward to him doing those types of things in the future.
And, Coach, last question for me. Donnie Corley, another impressive outing. Obviously, last week he was the SWAC Newcomer of the Week for what he did against HBU. And this past weekend against Alabama A&M, 8 receptions for 104 yards and a touchdown. What have you seen from him from a maturation process and just overall for what he's been able to do these past 2 weeks?
Donnie works extremely hard. He's usually the first guy in and the last guy out. And he just has a tremendous work ethic. And although he's the guy who's getting the numbers, our receiving core group is really special. And each week it just seems to be, here lately, it seems to have been his time and his day, with his number being called quite a bit. And he's accepted that challenge and stepped up to the plate and had some pretty good games for us.
All right, Coach McKinney, as always, we appreciate your time on the call and look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thank you.
This will now end our teleconference for this week. As always, thank you for all of our media that take time to jump on the call, and look forward to speaking with everyone again next week. Thank you.